Mark Waid continues his very fun murder mystery story, expanding the scope of it even more to include more classic villains like Amazo, Professor Ivo, and even more unique heroes like the Metal Men. I don't know how Waid manages to do it, but somehow he makes this feel like a classic Batman-Superman team-up from the 70s or 80s or 90s, but then also makes it feel new and fresh and creative. It's so cool seeing Clark and Bruce at odds with each other in something over like a newspaper article, and how the court of public opinion works through newspaper articles and everything. It's a neat way to have conflict between these two characters that isn't just something like one of them is mind-controlled or under the effects of a kryptonite or something like that, that we've had a dozen times before. It's just something very interesting that's more so Clark versus Batman, not Superman versus Batman. And that's a really interesting way to play the conflict. It also organically lets people like Robin and Jimmy to get involved, although I kind of wish we had a little bit more time with Jimmy since he's not even in this issue, and especially after last issue where he was like the driving force behind this whole Bruce Wayne killed Simon Stagg article. So I would have liked to have seen Jimmy running down leads and being a proper reporter again, and maybe bringing his story back around to where he finds out about Ivo and the Metal Men and all that sort of stuff and leads them back to Superman and Batman. Dan Mora again delivers more colourful and bold artwork, filling the pages and panels with just fantastic action and character designs. I've really loved what he's been able to do with Metamorpho's power, like turning into a gas to deal with fire and becoming a hang glider for Batman to use. It's really creative and just pure Saturday morning cartoon bliss. Batman-Superman World's Finest issue 14 continued Waid and Mora's fantastic murder mystery, broadening the cast of characters while touching on some really cool and interesting conflicts between the world's finest. I am going to give this issue a 10 out of 10. Batman-Superman World's Finest issue 14 heads to Los Angeles, where Metamorpho hunts down Doc Dredd, telling him that he is tired of being a victim and playing nice with the villain. At the Fortress of Solitude, Clark tells Bruce that this is what he gets for pretending to be a playboy who flirts around, since it's harder for him to establish an alibi. Bruce isn't happy with the story that Jimmy and Clark ran in the Daily Planet, since he didn't kill Stagg and they know it. Clark reminds him that Superman knows that, but Clark couldn't possibly know that. He understands Bruce's anger, but they have their sources, and even Superman can't proclaim Bruce's innocence without evidence or making Jimmy and Perry suspicious about how much he knows about Bruce. Bruce knows he could have done this a dozen different ways, but Clark thinks that it's just because he's Batman, but he and Jim are just reporters, and they have to follow the rules. Clark notes how it's not like Bruce is locked up and he's a billionaire who had his lawyers free him before the cuffs even snapped onto his wrists. Bruce doesn't think that it's enough, since now he's going to have to be seen in public constantly, and vanishing would make him look guilty. He congratulates Superman for hobbling Batman during a murder investigation, but Clark tells him to knock it off since the paper is a court of public opinion. Bruce agrees, and it means the killer feels safe, which works to their advantage. He still believes it to be Rex Mason, but Clark knows it's not, assuring Bruce that he's now got a new detective partner who'll help him as Robin arrives at the fortress. Bruce leaves their call and is told by Alfred that Oliver Queen is waiting for him upstairs. Bruce takes Oliver's call, learning that the man doesn't care that the police are after him. He reveals that he's been asking his people to partner with Wayne Tech R&D, but finds Bruce personally blocked his deal, citing how Oliver's tech is a little too militaristic for him. Oliver, however, has heard that he's making some interesting inroads in AI developments and wants to be part of that, which surprises Bruce since Oliver has always never trusted machines. Oliver doesn't want Queen Industries to be afraid of the future, and he wants to make a big offer to join Wayne Tech's research. Bruce tells him that he'll get back to him, telling Alfred to cancel his polo match since he's going to be in the cave. Superman and Robin meanwhile begin to investigate Stagg's murder, finding Rex is really mad about being framed for Simon's death, so much so a lot of Metamorpho's rogues are turning up badly beaten and captured for the police. Robin knows if Rex is going for his rogues, the next one is in Venezuela. Metamorpho meanwhile takes on El Matanzas and his robot army, demanding demanding to know how much Bruce paid the villain to frame him for the murder of Simon Stagg. The villain has no idea what he's talking about, and his robots are only fighting because they fight for freedom and the defense of the oppressed. Superman smashes into the robots, wondering if the villain really believes that. Robin apprehends the general, demanding that he turn the robots off. He tells Robin that Mason attacked him, but Dick doesn't care, demanding that the villain turn them off since his villagers are in danger. Matanzas reveals that he isn't doing this and the robots are malfunctioning. Superman and Metamorpho rescue some of the people in the village below, as Metamorpho changes into a nitrogen gas to choke out the flames ravaging the town, as one of the robots grabs Superman, smashing him into the ground. Superman returns the favor, throwing the robot to the moon as Metamorpho returns to the general, intent on hurting him. Superman appears in front of him, taking the hit from his two molybdenum hammers and demanding that he stop. Rex isn't scared by the hero, wanting to know which one of the villains Bruce paid off to frame him is. Superman grabs him, telling him that Bruce didn't pay off anyone, wanting to take him to see Sapphire since Simon's funeral is tomorrow. Bruce meanwhile takes a call from Ted Cord, Lauren Jupiter, and other billionaires to offer them some business opportunities, as Clark attends Simon's deserted funeral, taking notes for his story on it. He calls Bruce, who tells him that he had a strange call from Oliver, suspecting him not to be Oliver at all, thanks to him wanting to join in on Bruce's AI R&D projects. He also reveals that the other billionaires he reached out to don't seem like themselves either, and he wants Clark to do an X-ray check on them to see if they are imposters. Clark knows that something has been nagging him as well since he walked into the funeral, so he looks over Simon's corpse with his X-ray vision, finding it's not really a human body in there or a human brain. Superman knows that Simon is an android duplicate, meaning that Simon is really still alive somewhere, and he can get Bruce off the hook for his murder. Superman meets with Batman, Robin, and Metamorpho, telling them that someone is replacing billionaires. Batman found that most of these have had money funneled into an offshore account owned by Professor Anthony Ivo, the creator of Amazo. Superman thinks that if Ivo has upped his game since Amazo's creation, he can now make passable human-like androids. Batman tells Superman and Robin to follow the money while he and Rex go and try and find Dr. Will Magnus. The heroes get to work, and Superman and Robin find Ivo's labs in the Allegheny Mountains, finding a half-finished Bruce Wayne android. Superman figures that it wasn't useful once Bruce was suspected of murder, and Ivo's voice confirms as much, knowing that the heroes are onto him, and he did take the billionaire's money. Superman isn't concerned with Ivo's robots, knowing he can easily defeat them all, but Ivo knows this, citing they aren't for Superman, they are for Robin. In upstate New York, Batman and Metamorpho arrive at Magnus Robotics. Batman tries to tell Rex all about Will, but Rex knows all about him and his metal men. The team find Will's lab has been trashed, and Batman can tell Will was abducted, but if he was, why didn't the metal men fight back to protect their creator? Suddenly the heroes hear someone call for help, finding all of the metal men have been dissolved into giant pools of lava around the lab. Robin meanwhile asks Superman to use his heat vision, but the hero is preoccupied. Ivo tells Robin that he wanted to frame Rex, but he first would have to build something that he could mimic his abilities with, but then he thought, why should he stop there since Mason can replicate only the elements within the human body, so why not make something that could replicate every element on the periodic table and beyond it, including kryptonite. Superman is weakened by Ivo's new Metamorpho creation, which grabs the hero and prepares to kill him with its kryptonite arm.